Welcome to the Regenerative Collaborative South Africa. The following is a segment from November's webinar, A Regenerative Future.
Up next, we have Liteboho Makhele. She, just for people that we met each other 20 years ago. We shared an office while we were still very young and naive, working for the CSR. But the good thing that came from that is that we became friends and sustainability champions in different parts of the industry. So Liteboho is a sustainability specialist and program manager with 20 years of experience that started at the CSR, coordinates the Natural Resources Stewardship Program at GIZ South Africa, and contributes as a Salzburg Global Fellow, mentor, and academic moderator in sustainable urban development. So, Liteboho, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marloes. And I'm really happy that we've sustained this advocacy and initiatives in sustainable development for the many years that we've known each other. Thank you so much for inviting me, and congratulations to you all in the Regenerative Collaborative on your 5-year anniversary. Many initiatives and gatherings don't last this long, especially having to withstand COVID. So congratulations, and onwards and upwards for the next 5 years and beyond. So yes, we live in a country with a complex tapestry of contradictions. And like Andile mentioned in his presentation, we've got very glaring disparities that define the lives of the haves and the have-nots in the country. And yet, amidst all of that, I think we can still dare to envision a future where our cities become these dynamic ecosystems where natural and human systems co-evolve and coexist in harmony. So what if we integrate green infrastructure such as urban forests, wetlands, rain gardens to address the many challenges we face, like the current water crisis in Gauteng and other parts of the country, like the flooding we see increasingly in places like KZN and Johannesburg, Pretoria, so many issues that we face, urban heat islands and pollution, while at the same time we foster healthier communities, we promote equitable access to resources, and we enhance urban diversity. So that's the vision. And Singapore offers a global example of what is possible, particularly in a developing country context like ours. Of course, they didn't have 5 years to do all of this, but they started just over 60 years ago in 1963 through incremental steps and sustained commitment to a shared vision. And today they have transformed into a country, into a city, because they're both, where nature thrives amidst their skyscrapers. Their story should remind us that bold visions are achievable, even in the context of developing nations like ours. And that if we get into the mode of doing persistent action and collectively coming together and having the will to achieve this shared vision, it is possible. We've mentioned this, Andile mentioned this complex tapestry of contradictions. This image, I think, is now very popular and very relatable to a lot of people. It comes from the Unequal Cities series, which really shows the disparities in our global South contexts, where we're grappling with historical, spatial, and economic inequalities, but then also grappling with rapid urbanization and population growth. And in this narrative, cities and nature are too often seen as adversaries. So it's this either or narrative that if you expand cities, you cannot have nature integral to that growth. But I think there's a positive approach that we can look at in the sense that, yes, on the negative side, as our cities grow and expand, we have habitat loss, we've got declining biodiversity and reduced ecosystem services like climate regulation, which impacts us a lot. We see when we have floods, we see when we have droughts and water crises. But at the same time, we can look at it in a positive way and start reframing and imagining and regenerating our cities in a way that they can contribute to the preservation of biodiversity and become drivers of sustainable development. As Singapore has shown, this is possible, but it requires sustained vision and action. And it also stems from maybe a limited understanding, this negative narrative of how we can value and put a cost to the ecosystem services that nature provides in our urban planning developments and plans. And then we can see us trying and be able to redress this inequitable access that we see around green spaces and nature-based solutions. And this can be particularly beneficial in marginalized communities where they are most at risk due to the limited access and availability of the ecosystem services that could help mitigate some of these shocks and stresses that they face. There are solutions that are already within our grasp. For example, there are cities around the country that are doing amazing work. We've got eThekwini, which is doing critical riverine cleanups, and they've got a riverine management program where they're transforming the river systems that are the lifeblood of the city and provide livelihoods to people. They're cleaning them of wastes, they're clearing them of alien species, and making sure that the communities around there are involved in that work and they take ownership and then benefit, of course, from the restored health of these rivers. There's some examples in Cape Town as well, where the city supports community-based food gardens for food security and resilience. And these are thriving and being upscaled in different settings across the city, particularly also in marginalized and vulnerable communities. There's the city of Joburg as well that has various urban roof gardens and urban agriculture initiatives that help mitigate flooding in some areas, that provide food security, and also build enterprises around nature-based solutions and the green economy in different ways. So what can we do within a period of 5 years? And that was the challenge that we have been given by the Regenerative Collaborative, to come up with ideas of how we can do this. I think we can do more in the next 5 years to advocate for policies that prioritize nature-based solutions in our urban planning space. There are many of you that might sit in very influential spaces, whether in your own capacity privately as urban planners or architects or engineers in this built environment space, or whether as officials in cities or as community-based organizations, representatives, etc. So we can really advocate for policies that prioritize nature-based solutions to address the many challenges that we face. And then if you're sitting in the corporate world or in a funding organization, we can encourage investment in community-led regenerative projects. And this community-led approach is quite important because that's where at the local level, at the community level, the risks and the shocks and stresses that come are mostly felt. And if we can do this incrementally, perhaps one day we will be like Singapore. And then we can do more to foster collaborative partnerships, much like what the Regenerative Collaborative South Africa is doing. We can build cross-sector alliances to look at how do we finance, how do we scale up innovative initiatives, where can we pool expertise and resources together for maximum impact. You know, these are actions that will not only transform our cities, but would position them as catalysts for other cities, whether it's in the region, in the Southern African region, or whether it's continentally across the various parts of the continent, to also put South Africa as a beacon and a light that shines, you know, for others to follow suit and copy. That's my final slide. So what's the bold vision? We've got some pressing and persistent challenges that we face. I don't see our informal settlements going anywhere in the next 5 years, but they can certainly be different in the next 5 years. I look at the next 5 years as our cities having pioneering nature-based solutions as approaches to address challenges that we face, from the water crisis to the housing challenges we face, climate resilience against flooding, etc., and waste management, like Linus was talking about. You know, there are so many areas of intervention that can be done. So my vision is that by 2029, in 5 years' time, we'll have a model, 50% of urban spaces that integrate nature-based solutions in one way or the other. And that would reduce urban heat island effect by 2 degrees Celsius, because we are warming at even over the 2 degrees global average as South Africa in this part of the world. And then we'd cut flood risks by 30%, no more crying in KZN. And then, of course, job creation is important to us because we deal with the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality in the country. So that's me, Marloes, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Liteboho.
Thank you for watching this video segment from November's webinar, A Regenerative Future. Like and subscribe for more inspirational content.